So how can a sound help you learn a language? The way it can help you learn a language is that it can actually be linguistically described. And in this case, a is a voiceless linguolabial trill. And that sounds a little complicated, but all it means is voiceless means that your vocal cords are not vibrating. Linguolabial means you're using your tongue and your lips to make the noise. And a trill, it just refers to the crazy vibration that you're doing with it. And trills aren't super common in English, but we can still make them. And the point is, if that can be described, then any sound in any language can be described. And if you can describe a language that you're trying to learn, or describe a sound in a language that you're trying to learn, then you can know what you're supposed to do. You don't have to guess. You can actually look it up and see, oh, I use this part of my mouth to make this noise, and it works. So in order to describe a sound, there are three parameters. First is voicing, second is place, and third is manner. Voicing, all that is whether your vocal cords are vibrating or not. So we can look at some examples in English to learn voicing by looking at some voiced and unvoiced sounds. So I want to look at two sounds, a V and a F, a V and an F, basically. So when we say V, or hold it out, V, you can feel your vocal cords vibrating. If you want to try it out yourself, just put your hands to your vocal cords down near the bottom of your throat and hold out a V, just a long V sound. And you should feel the vibration there. However, if you make a F sound, an F, there is no vibration. It's almost like a whisper. And interestingly, that voicing is the only difference between a V and an F, a V and a F. They are completely identical in all other things except for voicing. If you do the experiment, then you can tell that your tongue is in the same place in your mouth. Another voiced and voiceless pair is S and Z. So, S, no vibration. Z, you should feel a vibration. So if we look at the second parameter, place, all that means is where in your mouth are the sounds happening. Literally, the place. The place, is it in the front, in the middle, the back? Do you use your tongue? Which parts of your mouth are you using? If we look at a T and a K, a T and a K, we can see that both of those are voiceless sounds. So what's the difference? So if you look at their place, the where in your mouth that they're actually happening, a T happens at the front of your mouth, right behind your teeth. There's a place called the alveolar ridge where your gums kind of slope down to meet your teeth. A K sound is further in the back of your mouth. It's in a place called the velum, or the soft palate, the soft part of the roof of your mouth. So we can see that the difference is the place. One more example of place is a B and a G, a B and a G. A B you say with both of your lips. It's bilabial. A G, just like the K, is a velar sound, even though they're both voiced. They are in different places. The last parameter is manner, and this is basically how you say a sound. So let's look at a T and an S, a T and a S. They have the same voicing. They're both voiceless. T, S. They are in the same place. They're both alveolar sounds right behind your teeth, but there's obviously a difference between them. If we look at a T, 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 it stops. We can't hold it out. You can't say T. That's just me holding out the vowel after the T. It stops. It's called a stop, or a plosive, as some people like to call it. If we look at a S, the S sound, we can hold that out for as long as we want. A S, that's what we call a fricative. A fricative basically is just a continuous airflow. So we can see that they have the same voicing, the same place, but a different manner. So let's look at one more sound example for manner. If we have a K and a Ch. So what's the difference between those? They're both in the same place. They're both voiceless, but one is a stop, K, and one is a fricative, Ch, because it continues. And you've just learned a Russian sound. The X in Cyrillic is actually the Ch sound. And because you know how to linguistically describe something now, you can say that sound freely. So I'm currently learning Vietnamese because my wife is from Vietnam, and they have an ng sound, a ng sound, at the beginning of words, which does not happen in English. We have it at the end in sing, for example, but never at the beginning. And this was very difficult for me. But then I realized I could use linguistics to help me say it. An example of this sound in Vietnamese is the word ngon, which means delicious. And the way I learned to say that ng sound is finding a place in English in which we have it, like sing, and just holding that out. Sing, ng, 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 ng. And then I tried to put it at the beginning of a word, ngong, ngong. And it just works because I knew what that sound was supposed to be. You can even describe clicks if you've ever looked at one of the Khoisan languages and they speak in South Africa. Sound is called a voiceless alveolar click. It's voiceless, its place is alveolar, so use your tongue right behind your teeth, and its manner is a click, and that's it. And they have about 5 different clicks, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But since you can linguistically describe them, it's much easier for people to tell the difference when you know what those clicks are supposed to actually be. So when you know how to linguistically describe something, you can use your knowledge to learn new sounds by looking them up on an online resource like Wiktionary or whatever else you want to use, by looking at the symbols that these sounds have. So in the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is just an alphabet created by linguists to basically document all human sounds, there is one symbol for every sound in every language. And if you can learn that symbol, you can look it up and see its linguistic description. So I actually looked up the click. I wanted to see, how do you say this click? I found the symbol, and it said alveolar voiceless click. And I knew how to do that because it's just a click. My tongue's behind my teeth, and it's voiceless. And then I could say a sound in a language I've never even heard before. And I learned some other clicks. So we have the alveolar one is a lateral. Lateral is basically just using the sides of your tongue. It's lateral. You use the sides of your tongue. It was so easy for me to learn. I mean, it would be very difficult for me to actually use it in a language, but I can say it, hopefully. And this is just such a better way to learn a sound or pronunciation in a language than having a teacher just repeat it over and over again. There's been so many times where I just get it almost but not quite there, and they don't really know what to tell me. I try saying a sound several times, and they say, well, say it more like this. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing that I'm not doing. I thought I was saying it perfectly. But if you know exactly what it's supposed to be, it's so much easier. It's not perfect, though. There are plenty of sounds that your tongue doesn't have the muscles to say. There are lots of sounds in Vietnamese that I still can't say because my tongue isn't quite there yet. You have to practice over and over again for your tongue to even want to make that shape. But it is definitely a much better way to learn than guessing or just repeating someone. Those can still be helpful. You should really learn how to look up a sound symbol in a dictionary and be able to say it because it makes language learning so much easier. If we look at the second parameter, place, whoops, the spit flew out.